sure it's not on my end. I don't think it's on my end though.
Okay, I hope it's not on this end.
Okay. Are you able to hear okay?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Are you able to hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to get it up a little louder.
Okay. Well, take your time. I think on the computer there should be like a volume button somewhere that you can.
Let's see. I don't have anybody here that knows this stuff that well.
Well,
How do you turn it up? How do you turn the volume up?
I think it's up as loud as it can go, Claude.
Huh?
I think it's up as loud as it can go.
But check this right here, Joe. And check the other two. Gotta make sure he's ready to go.
He's ready to go. Okay, is that
okay? Say something to me again.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little low for me though.
Really? Okay. Well, if you want me to, I can I can just talk loud to make sure you can hear me. Okay.
Okay, talk as loud as you can, because until I get a technician here, make sure I can hear you.
Okay, sounds good. So how are you doing? How are things with the Harvest Institute?
With the Harvest Institute? Yeah, well, right now we're back in the courts, back in the appellate court again. I got to get into the fundraising more because every darn month I get these legal bills from these lawyers. You know, every time I look around, there's a bill from them for them to file appeals, pay court costs, and all those various kind of costs, Dr. Watkins. So it's a pain, but I'm still fighting it though. I've been fighting in the courts now for 10 years in the court itself, but I took up these issues for black folk back about 1970, so that's 30-some years. But I finally worked my way up to the appellate court, which is right beneath the Supreme Court. So I'm creeping and crawling. But the real problem, though, is not so much even being in the court system, Dr. Watkins, and the fact that, see, what I'm fighting is it really, in truth, is a political issue. It's not a legal issue because the law is very firm and fixed. See, that the treaty is the highest law in the land, that they owe black folk this money for reparations and based on the 1866 Indian Treaty, which specified that in the future, that all free blacks, all black Indians and all black freedmen be treated in all manners similar to so-called white Indians. And 92% of all the Indians in the country that are passing for Indians, they're really just whites passing for Indians that got their name on the Dawes Rolls back in 1896. But then black folks should be treated in all manners and entitled to all kind of benefits. I'm not sure if you want me to spell them out right now. You want me to tell you what they are?
Please, go ahead. Yes.
Okay, in all manners similar to 1866 Indian treaties. But see, and most people don't know that slavery never could have existed in this country, Dr. Watkins, without the full support of American Indians in this country. And the first treaty was signed in the New York Treaty in 1516. It stipulated in those treaties that if Indians were to support slavery in this country and cease and desist from being savages and running in the fields, and began to practice what colonists were going to practice, white colonists going to practice by setting up farms and plantations, that the whites would then be in a position to provide them with money, food, clothing, and housing, and eventually call them civilized. And so the Choctaw, Chickasaw, Cherokee, and Seminole Indians, they said, we'll go along with that. And so in every treaty since 1516, every treaty contained a stipulation that Indians were to support slavery, and then they got paid typically about $25 to bring back every runaway slave to the master. And when they couldn't bring them back, they started a concept that most people see in the Westerns, but they don't understand the origin of it. That's called scalping. Scalping meant when an Indian chased down a black running away from a plantation, they couldn't bring him back alive. They got paid $20 to bring him back if they got his scalp and his ears attached to his scalp. That started in South Carolina. That's when this whole scalping thing started. And so all the Indians supported slavery up until the end of the Civil War. And all the five civilized tribes all have signed on with the South to fight to maintain slavery. And the last general to give up was a Cherokee Indian named Stan Wake. And so 2 years after, I'm gonna make this short. 2 years after the Civil War ended, that Choctaw and Chickasaw Indians were still holding 12,000, 15,000 slaves. And so the government had to go in and make them turn them loose. And so they turn them loose, and now in the future, here's what you must do for black. First, you must release all blacks. 2, you must turn all blacks Indians loose. 2, 3, you must provide them with 140 acres of land. 3, you must give them $150. 4, you must give them an option to become a member of the tribe. 5, you must allow them to have access to any resources on the Indian reservation. 6, they must be tax exempt. 7, they should be able to go attend any school without paying a tuition. And in present day terms, they should be able to negotiate with the government to get all kinds of subsidies. And lastly, they should be able to be federalized, to be able to have casinos just like these so-called white Indians. So and that's what I'm fighting for right now, to get these benefits. And this nation owes black Indians and black freemen and freed blacks, those 3 groups, they owe them all billions and billions of dollars. And I fight it, but all the white congressmen tell me, said, Dr. Anderson, your problem is they're forcing you to fight a legal issue that's really a political issue. It's a political issue. They're fighting you to go through the court system. And the reason you have to do that, because you have very little support, or practically no support, from those individuals who should be with you, like the black elected officials, the black ministers, the black civil rights organizations. And so I don't have them. So one of the biggest supporters I have right now is a guy named Dr. Boyce Watkins.
Oh, wow. Well, I support you on that for sure. And I think that what's interesting, what really surprised me, are you able to hear me good, Dr. Anderson?
Yeah, I can hear you right now, okay. I can try it.
Okay, good. And I'll make sure I speak clearly so it comes through loudly. I think a lot of people, have been misled, right? They're sort of pushed into these coalitions with the Native American tribes, and they kind of feel like we're in the same boat. So it sounds like what you're saying is that a lot of these tribes played a huge role in slavery, that they were hunting down and killing black people on behalf of the white government. And then when it came time to get the benefits that the Native Americans received, we were supposed to get some of that, and we were cut out of the deal. Is that pretty much what you're saying?
That's exactly what it is. But somehow this misnomer or this misinformation is circulated somehow that Indians were friends to blacks. They were never black folks' allies. The only Indian tribes that even gave black folks any remote sense of support, Dr. Watkins, were the Seminoles, and that's because Seminole was a fabricated tribe. There was no such tribe as known as Seminoles. But what happened when the Appalachian Indians married the Cherokee and mixed in with blacks in the late 1600s to 1700s, they created a new tribe called Seminoles. Seminoles is a mispronunciation of a word called Miss Severan, which meant in Spanish runaway slaves. That's where the Seminole tribe came from. That's why the Seminole tribes were very supportive of black folk. And 2 or 3 of the lawsuits I got coming up, I'm going to be fighting with the fact that black folks should have still owned about 80% of the land running from Jacksonville, Florida over to Texas, because when those runaway slaves, when they ran off to Florida, and the Spanish government invited slaves to come to Florida, they gave them all the rights of citizenship in Florida. Florida was Spanish territory. The United States government had no business to go in there and invade Florida looking for black slaves. Andrew Jackson had no business in there. And they went in and slaughtered blacks like in Apalachicola, in Fort Negro, and in Fort Moultrie down outside of Jacksonville, Florida. Slaughtered those blacks and captured them and turned around and sent most of them on what they call a Trail of Tears. You hear the Indians boasting about the Trail of Tears. About 38% of all the people in the Trail of Tears being led out of the South from Georgia and Florida were black folk. But none of the movies tell you that 38% were black folk. They sent them out to Oklahoma Territory. The white slave owners, they wanted land in Florida, but they did not want most of the blacks, because they said those blacks were now arrogant. They were now what they call refusing to be enslaved. So they said send those along with the Indians out to Oklahoma Territory. And 2 lawsuits I got on the table will be covering that. One against Andrew Jackson, one against the United States for violating Spanish territory and trying to bring back all those slaves. That's how we got Florida, was because Jackson and the army went down and invaded Florida looking for black slaves. And after war with Spain, they finally got them all. And Spain sold Florida to the United States for about 15 cents an acre.
So let me ask. So this is interesting. So you're saying that this Trail of Tears that we always get taught about as a Native American thing, 38% of the people on the Trail of Tears were black, like you and
black slave. That's right, black slaves.
Interesting. So tell me this, and I have an idea what the answer is, but I'd like to get your context as an expert, in history and economics and everything. Why do you think it is that we don't know this? Why is it that we think that we have a whole different perception of the Native American issue that's different from what you say are the facts here? Why is it that most black folks don't know this stuff?
Well, I'll say for 2 reasons. Let me try to conjure up in my mind very quickly. The first one would be the fact that in about early 1900s, but white folks all of a sudden, now that they've taken over everything, they sort of forgave black folk, and an Indian eth was built into our national ethos. They started putting Indians images like on money, like on Indian dollars, Indian nickels, and all this stuff. So they had an appreciation for Indians after they'd taken everything from them. So that's the first thing. Secondly, by 1938, the Indians found out that now that they've been approved and began looked up to and been appreciated now as a group, even though they've been deprived of most of the land and put on reservations, they crafted a letter, Dr. Watkins, and sent a letter to the United States Department of Interior and said, we got these treaties where we're supposed to be doing all these things for black folk, but we don't want to do it. How can we not take care of black folk? How can we not divvy up with black folk? How can we not allow black folk to come on our reservations and begin to get resources to gold, silver, chrome, bonds, and the land and timber and the water and stuff? And they sent that letter to the Department of Interior about 1938. Am I talking too fast for you?
Nope.
Okay, 1938. That letter bounced around in the United States government until about 1941, 1942. And through the Federal Indian Bureau and then the Department of Interior then sent a letter back to all the tribes saying, here's what you do. You change the rules. You change the rules. Because the treaties of 1866 was said that black folk and black Indians and black freemen should be treated in all manners, in all properties, benefits, as similar to white Indians. And they said, what we'll do then, let's change it, just change the ground rules. And it worked. And so the government told them in a letter, and I got a copy of the letter to me. It says, what you do, you come up with a new thing called blood count. And so what they got a new rule saying that black folk can only benefit. It was approved by the government saying that they must be able to prove to whites or to the government that they got at least 25% Indian blood. It's called a blood quantum law that they passed and got Congress to prove. It says now for black folk to get those benefits, those trillions of billions of dollars they were entitled to, they got to prove they have 25% Indian blood. Never in any of those treaties did it ever stipulate that there was a blood quantum law involved. It just simply they stuck that in there out of a letter that went to the Congress and to the government in 1938 was responded to in 1940s. That's the second reason. The third reason is because black folk don't make an issue out of it. That right now black folk are still practicing, I just want to get along. And somehow they've been acculturated to believe that somehow that even though blacks have never had any allies in this country, never had any friends in this country, that Indians are so-called their friends. And Indians were classified in the late 1890s as whites. Indians are not, they say, well, they're people of color. No, they're not your people of color. They're not brothers. They were classified as whites. Everybody coming to this country is classified as whites except black folk. Racism is an issue between white and black. The Arabs come to this country, they are just simply white folk practicing Islam and they got their own culture. Hispanics come to the United States. Up until 1970, they were classified as whites. They're just white folks speaking Spanish with a Hispanic culture. Asians went on probation in the 1880s on what they call the Yoke and Wick decision in the Supreme Court, and again in the early 1900s, like 1912, they've been on probation to be white. No blacks have no friends and no allies, nor are the Indians supportive of black folk in any regards. But here's the last point. Just recently, about 3 months ago, a courts approved the fact that black folk were entitled to be treated in all manners similar to Indians. This was a recent court ruling at a lower level court. And so that's another one of the bases I have for now fighting in the appeal court. But the appeal court right now, we supposed to have a hearing back in November. But what they sent a letter about a couple of days before saying, let's not have an open hearing because they found out I was having all these blacks to show up. So they said, let's do it in quietness. Let's do it with the doors closed. And they came back and said, well, we found out there's not really great justification for giving blacks any benefits. And so now I filed a suit back again. They got to go back to the appeal court again. And so we still got a big fight coming up this spring. I want everything that's black, that's walking and talking, to be there, to fill the courtrooms, to fill the outside of the courts, to say and demand that they be getting their resources and benefits as they were entitled to. Okay?
All right. Well, let me ask you this, Dr. Anderson. When you mentioned this battle that's going to happen in the spring, do you have a date and a location I can start telling people about, or is that not settled yet?
Well, it's going to be at the Federal Appeal Court, I think on Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C. They have not given us a date again, a time rather, or a date. But I need your help to get everything that's black out there. And because right now, as a matter of fact, the great irony, Dr. Watkins, is that white, like let's take some white congressmen, for example, white congressman Steve Corn out of Memphis, Tennessee. He said, Dr. Edson, your people should have gotten this a long time ago. What's wrong with them? Why don't they fight? You have people, another congressional representative from West Virginia. He said the same thing. And another from Kentucky. 3 or 4 white congressmen says, your problem is that your people don't support it. I go to the Hill to do a PowerPoint presentation at the behest of Congressman Maxine Waters. She says, come in and do a PowerPoint presentation. She says, you've been fighting for this for 40 years. Black folk entitled these funds. And then, but that's what happened. I go up there, John Conyers and all the black congressmen, they run and hide in the bathroom. You know why? They hide in the bathroom. They don't want to talk about the black issues. And they said, and I found out that half of them got money from the white Indians. They got paid off from the white Indians to be against and oppose anything I do for black folk on the Indian issue. Now, how can you stand that?
Wow. Well, you know what I'm going to do is, Dr. Anderson, first of all, I want to say is, as soon as you find out the date and the time, the location, make sure I know this, and I'm going to scream it from the rooftops every day. I'm going to put it everywhere. I'm going to tell everybody I know, and I'm going to show up myself, because, you know how I feel about what you're doing. I think it's heroic. The other thing I want to ask you about this is this. I want everybody to please pay attention. Please hear, what's being said here. Lawsuits ain't cheap. Lawyers, last time I checked, lawyers ain't free. And I'm gonna tell you, in this week, Dr. Anderson, we gave a couple $100 million to Disney for this new movie, The Black Panther, that came out. It's a great movie. It's cool to go see it. But I said, if y'all can go give $200 million to Disney, we can go put a few $1 million behind this important lawsuit. So can you speak to this? Your website where people can make donations. Everybody write this down. Please type it in. It's harvestinstitute.org. That's harvestinstitute.org. That's where they can make a donation, right?
That's right, through the PayPal.
Okay, so you can make a donation through the PayPal at harvestinstitute.org, not .com, harvestinstitute.org. Please type that in. Please share it on your social media. Please tell everybody you know, because this is probably the most worthy cause that's happening anywhere in our community that I can think of right now. But can you speak to that? Just, the economic burden of kind of taking on this big fight, by yourself.
But typically I might get bills almost every month from lawyers to pay for the legal fees, for legal research, for filing court costs, for papers, for sex stenographers, typing. And just off the record, I've spent over $150,000 in the last year just in legal fees, okay? And I got a lot of you very prominent blacks, they support me in spirit. And emotional, and what I've been trying to fight for black. This is just one of the things. I got 5 lawsuits right now that have never been brought to the courts. There's all right behind this Indian lawsuit. I got other lawsuits that these are legal things. The reason I fight for these legal issues because they are treaty based. A treaty is the highest law in the land. It is law, and no law is greater than a treaty. And so, all my issues coming up. I got 4 more waiting on the table behind this Indian lawsuits. You talk about billions and billions and billions of refunds for black folk labor that was unpaid for about 360 years and about another 100 years of Jim Crow segregation. And I got a lot of athletes and entertainers. They send me all kind of letters. As a matter of fact, the ones that came closest doing something for us recently was Lren Hill, Nas, David Chappelle, and a bunch of people like that. They did a tour. They said, can we use the Powernomics logo, which I signed off, let them use, to go across America on a tour. They went to 20 to 30 cities doing a tour. And now they're just authorized them to go through Europe to do a tour. And from that, to raise these issues I'm raising. And I got a notice from the lawyers who told me that just from a group called Daily Motions out of France, they picked up 250,000 sites around the world where people are quoting and talking about the things I'm talking about, but they sent no money, Dr. Watkins. See, there's a gap. There's a gap between the emotional and the academic. Academically, they understand what I'm talking about. Emotionally, they cannot commit themselves to doing anything for black folk because most of the blacks that got money in the upper class, the whites control their money. They control the accounting. They do the accounting and the managing. And they've told most of them, if you do anything that's identifiably black, that they would shut you off and cut you off. When I would try to raise money for a Harvest Institute, Xerox, Pepsi, Xerox, Coca-Cola, and a couple of fast food restaurants, Sunoco Oil, they finally told me, said, Dr. Ellis, you got to understand, we cannot give anybody directly to black folk. They said that we'll give it to your Harvest Institute if you make one change in your program. I said, what's that change? They said, if you take the focus off of black folk, Dr. Watkins, and put it on minority, women, children, and immigrants, we'll give you money annually. And I said, I found that to be insulting. You don't ask Jews, Arabs, Asians, anybody else to take the focus off of their people and put it on everybody else. You give them money and resources. And they told me in response to that, say, well, you got to understand, Dr. Anderson, that in America, black people are a pariah. You're a pariah. That no corporation can justify giving anything directly to black folk. They have to put it inside of something. They have to encase it in these very broad and ambiguous terms called minorities, poor folk, people of color, multicultural, diversity, so nobody can see what they're doing. And Ronald Reagan said the same thing when I left the White House with President Carter in 1982. Ronald Reagan called Haldeman into his office and said, look, from now on, now that we're in charge in Washington in 1982, we've won the White House, do not say anything negative about black folk. If you're going to say anything about black folk, encouch it and bury it inside of very broad and ambiguous terms, just as they did in the Constitution. That way, what he says is the word jig. He said the jigs would never know it. So they haven't got enough sense to be able to find out that there's nothing in it for them. Now, this is Ronald Reagan said that. He didn't say Ian, he said jig. He didn't say nigs, he said jigs. He said buried. And lo and behold, I still got black folk that don't understand in the Constitution that black folk is spoken of in broad terms, like those people, those indebted, those unbonded, those that special treatment, that special property. They always use broad terms, and our people always talk about they got constitutional rights. You don't have any constitutional rights. The Constitution defines blacks specifically as being 3/5 of a human being, property, and no humanity equal to a field animal.
Wow. Oof. I hope y'all are hearing this. I mean, I hope everybody that's watching is hearing, what he's saying. And what I really think that, the way to connect this, everybody who's paying attention, a lot of y'all went to go see the Black Panther movie, and they talked about, this place, Wakanda, which is not Wakanda's not a real place, but it was in the movie, right? But it's a place that's exciting because it's black and it's proud and protected and everything else. Well, in a way, this is one of the last Wakandas that we have out here. What Dr. Anderson is doing is one of the last holdouts in the sense that he's one of the few people. This is why I respect him. I want everybody to know this. This is why I love talking to this man, is because he's one of the few black folks that has no problem saying, let's talk about black people first. Let's put black people first. We can still do stuff with everybody else. We still connect on some level, but you have to have a core. You have to have a base. And so, and again, we all love Lren Hill. We love Nas. We love Dave Chappelle. And so what I encourage everybody who's listening, and some of y'all know these people directly, and I want you to just reach out in love and kind of make sure everybody understands that words mean something, but it means a lot more when you write a check. You gotta put your money where your mouth is. And so I know I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna give thousands of dollars to the Harvest Institute. I have made business deals with Dr. Anderson this year on the tour. Dr. Anderson's agreed to join the tour. He's gonna do Powernomics certifications in different cities where you can get certified in Powernomics. The black business schools behind this, we're gonna give thousands of dollars to this, but we can't do it ourselves. But I do know this. I do know, as a community, if all of us just go to harvestinstitute.org and just do our part, then all these legal bills will be covered. I mean, you can't argue against the merits of the lawsuit. You can't argue against what the man's trying to do. Just go to harvestinstitute.org, and here's what I want you to do. Just think about it like this. I'm not telling anybody to do anything. This is my suggestion. Think about the movie that you just saw, The Black Panther. Great movie. Everybody loves it. Ain't nothing wrong with going to enjoy that movie. In your mind, try to think to yourself, how much did I spend that night going to see the Black Panther? How much did I spend on my movie ticket, on the popcorn and the drinks, and going out to dinner, taking my kids, all of that, and add that total up in your head. and go to harvestinstitute.org and make a donation to the reparations lawsuit that matches or exceeds the amount that you gave to Disney when you went to go see Black Panther. That's where it can start. It ain't gonna set nobody back. It probably won't cost you more than getting your hair done or getting a new pair of shoes, but it'll make a huge difference if all of us come together and do this together. And I'm gonna be right there with you. I'm gonna be right out front writing checks. People like Dr. Kevin Cosby down in Kentucky that runs Simmons College, he has the Harvest Institute in his budget. They send money on a regular basis. And this is the kind of community action that I think will get us the respect we deserve on Capitol Hill. Now, Dr. Anderson, I want to go back and kind of ask you a question that's kind of related to this. Now, have you been following all the buzz about the Black Panther movie and everything else that's been going on?
Yeah, I heard about it. As a matter of fact, members of my family went to see it. And as you indicated a few minutes ago, it's a fine movie. It's a fine opportunity. It's advancement for black folk in the film industry. But I operated a little bit above that. My interest is a little higher than that. See, my interest is more about things that are quantitative, that are measurable. See, when I want black achievements, I want black to have things you can go to the bank, you can count, you can measure. And see, and if you keep placing all your emphasis on some form of entertainment, you're taking me back in history. See, the safest blacks in this nation were established. A parameter was established for them, Watkins, way back during slavery, where white folks says that the safest black is an entertaining black. So on the plantations, every Saturday night, what white folks would do, they would invite all the slaves. This was typical on every plantation. They would invite every slave up to the White House, up to the mansion, and they would serve them iced tea and lemonade in the evening. And they had this concept called burning off the slaves, burn off the energy of the slaves. And that was only on Saturday nights. And because Sunday morning, some of them go to church and they get back in the fields. They just burn up their energy, so they won't have any energy left to talk about revolting us, and having slave insurrections. So when they came up in the back, up to the front of the yard, the whites would sit out on the front porch, drink lemonade and tea, and let the blacks. You know what the blacks would do then? They would sing and dance. They would play the banjo, tambourine, and beat on drums. They would have exercise and things like. They would have wrestling contests, head-butting contests, marble shooting contests, horseshoe pitching contests, coon chases, anything to burn off their energy, and they would entertain whites. Whites, and that burn off their energy.
Wait! You say coon chases? Like, explain.
Yeah, coon chases. Once in a while, they play the blacks and turn a black loose and run down. They sit, and other people have a hound dog, see if they can catch him in the night and find him in the dark. And sometimes they used to call it tree in the coon. You ever heard that expression?
No. Tree in the coon, because the blacks would sometimes try to climb a tree to keep the dogs from finding them, smelling them, finding where they were. These are old practices. So what they said was that the safest black would be a black that did anything to entertain blacks, to entertain the white folk. That's a safe corridor. And you go and you find, ever since then, you can find 98 to 99% of all blacks who are successful are going to be entertainers. All of them, they strive to be entertainers. And because they found out early, there's a short distance, Dr. Watkins, a short distance between a cotton field and an athletic field. And so what they did then is that so every black then was either, if you find entertainment, they either chasing a football, basketball, tennis ball, golf ball, bowling ball, singing, dancing, telling jokes, pretending they're having a ball. And see, and that is a safe black. They said a safe, entertaining black is 100 times safer than a birth control pill. Okay? And they know they ain't gonna do anything. And so that's why you go back and find any successful blacks since slavery, 99% of them would be strictly entertaining. And see, that's what makes you different. See, you're trying to do your best. That's why I admire you, respect you as a friend and a professional person. You're saying, get out of that. You should be successful other than being an entertainer. That's the only thing that white folk will approve. And blacks know that because when they qualify as an entertainer in our economy, you know what happens then? They then earn what they call meritorious manumission. Now, are you familiar with the concept of meritorious manumission? Yeah, that's in your book.
That's right. See, that started in 1710. The slave codes came out in 1705. In 1710s, they said we got to find better ways to control these black folk. It's what we do is a thing called meritorious manumission, which means we would set a black folk free and pull him close to our breast and say, this is a special black. This is my nigga. If he can qualify on 3 different grounds, either one of them. One is, first of all, if he can save a white person's life. That means go to war and be the most patriotic people on earth. Always going to, you throw yourself in front of a sword, a bullet to save a white person. That was a safe flag. 2, if you can invent something, produce something, or get in some kind of a business where white folk can profit from your energy, whether it's taking cotton or running with a football, basketball, then you became a safe black. And thirdly, is if that you will squeal on and tell on them, or will oppose anything that black folk do to try to get out of their dilemma. So those 3 things would earn you what they call meritorious manumission. And you become a special safe black. That's the safest blacks on earth. That's the first thing that they use. The second thing that they use to make sure these blacks don't fight back is one of the things that we learned in Korea. And you can use this if you're excited. See, in Korea, one of my responsibilities in the Marine Corps was in my squadron. I was a safety engineer, flight engineer for my squadron. I had to teach my pilots how to survive in combat, or either when they crashed in the ocean, they crashed in the desert, or if they wound up in a prison. My responsibility was trying to provide the resources and the principles to be able to survive. And during the Korean, and what black folk never knew, and let's jump back to blacks a second, was that anytime you institutionalize slavery against a people, that is a declaration of war. WAR is a declaration of war to every nation on the earth to commit to institutionalize slavery against a particular group of people. That's a declaration of war. Now in Korea, in Safe Survival, we had the same thing showed up. There's a direct parallel between what happened to our soldiers in Korea. I put this in Powernomics, and what happened to black folk. They were conditioned along the same track. We had people in Korea now. Now we're safe in terms of safety and survival. We had over 7,000, Dr. Watkins, 7,000 people were captured. American soldiers were captured in Korea and put in concentration camps or prisoner of war camps in North Korea or in China for 3 years, Dr. Watkins. And during the course of that 3 years, over 3,000 out of the 7,000 died in captivity. You know what they died from? They didn't die from any apparent brutality or anybody pulling out their fingernails or driving bamboo shoots between their joints or freezing to death or starving to death. They died because they what we call give-up-itis and surrender-itis. They just lost the will to survive. And at night they would sit in a corner and just put their head down and just die. And we lost 3,000. And in Korea and in China, we did not have not one soldier to ever escape from a prisoner of war camp in Korea and China during the Korean War. And even though some of those camps didn't have guards, they didn't have fences, they didn't have dogs. They lost the will to even escape. Now, there's a direct parallel to that and what happened to your people now, black folks. You just asked me a question earlier about why black folks don't do certain things, like don't support some of the things I'm asking, or don't read my books and don't want to carry out those things. But what happened, we had soldiers over there. We had soldiers in the Korean War. And when every morning about 7:30, the Chinese and the North Koreans would come over the hills, shooting and blowing baboons and blowing horns and shooting rockets and bullets, saying, "We catch you, we're going to kill you. We don't kill you, we're gonna imprison you for the rest of your life." And they'd come over those hills, and we would have some soldiers on our side that rather than fighting, they would be hiding behind a fence or a tree or lying in a ditch, lying on top of their gun. And we go over there and say, "Now, Joe, you got to get up, Joe, because they're coming over the hill now. And it's 7:30 in the morning, the sun is coming up. They're coming here to kill you and capture you. What are you going to do? Well, get off your gun and start shooting back." You know what the soldier would say, Dr. Watkins? What? He would say, "Dr. Anderson, I can't do that." He said, "Why not?" They said, "Because if I did that, if I started shooting back, that might make them angry, make them mad at me for shooting back." And so we had that same analogy has happened to your people. That's why your people have been captured, just like those POW campers, because they're afraid to push back. They don't push back. And even though slavery was a war declared against them, just like in Korea, they don't understand the difference. They've been captured. Now we got 44 million black folks still captured. They don't push back. They want to be loved. That was the whole point of the Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights Movement wasn't necessarily to elevate blacks or to win the war. It was to make them acceptable to whites, to be loved by whites, to go into white restaurants, white schools, white movie theaters, to move into white communities, and be a part of white culture, to have white women. So they surrendered. They just like our prisoners, and Zodom are dying and killing each other. Like the 3,000 we lost in Korea, North Korea, and China, we lose them all over America right now, every Saturday night, killing each other, just giving up. And so the reason they don't give to the Harvest Institute or support a lot of stuff I'm trying to do, they've given up. They committed suicide intellectually and emotionally.
Wow. Okay, everybody who's watching, in case a brilliant man, he's the author of the books Powernomics and Black Labor, White Wealth. If you guys want to get a copy of those books, actually you can go to the URL we set up was blacklaborwhitewealth.com. Just like with Tariq Nasheed, we're one of the distributors of the books, and so you can go to blacklaborwhitewealth.com. You can find that book in Powernomics as well as other books we recommend. Also, I want to encourage everybody. He was speaking earlier about the lawsuit that he's been filing against the federal government for the Indian tree.